Why don't we do a show just girl singers singing rock?
I called it Bitch, a ladies' tribute to metal.
Bitch was this dirty rock and roll party at this club called Don Hills.
Bitch is somebody who is intense, aggravated, empowered, trying to get things done, and is not nicey nice.
It was this wild assembly of just like the biggest and baddest lunatics in this town. 95% of the time, Bitch was like the most exciting rock and roll party in the city for years.
I mean, this was real feminism, if you ask me.
It's more, look at me, I'm up here and I own this. I own this.
And we just turn that misogyny on its fucking head.
You know, women expressing power and really deep feeling, and you know, whether it's sexual or emotional or political, I think the world is ready for that now. I know they are.
How you doing? You're watching NYC Rock, where we bring you real New York City rock and roll stories. New York City is a drug. New York City is a drug. I need a fix in a bad way. Shaking the night all day. New York City is a drug. 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 New York City.
My name is Militia Vox, and I'm a total bitch. Bitch was this dirty rock and roll party at this club called Don Hills. It sounds like folklore now, even talking about it, but it really happened. It was this wild assembly of just like the biggest and baddest lunatics in this town. 95% of the time, Bitch was like the most exciting rock and roll party in the city for years.
Welcome to Bitch.
Yeah.
My name's Stephen Blush. I've been around the New York music scene for about the last 30 plus years. Probably best known for a book and film that I worked on called American Hardcore. And my latest one is called New York Rock, which is a history of New York rock music from the 40 years of downtown culture, from the rise of the Velvet Underground to the fall of CBGBs. So basically there were 3 rock clubs left by 9/11. CBGBs and the Continental, which were kind of fading, and Don Hill's on the west side, which was a little different than those clubs but catered to it as well. And the key thing that was going on at Don Hill's was a party called Squeezebox.
You look like one fucking bitch tonight, didn't it?
Squeezebox was the most fun party at Don Hill's nightclub. It was absolutely amazing. It was an amalgamation of all these different elements. Downtown rock.
This kind of gay rock and roll scene that was very edgy and downtown and connected into the punk rock scene. And that had gone on through the 90s. And when I arrived at Don Hill's around 2000, Squeezebox was already kind of petering out. Don didn't want to have CBGBs. He wanted his own club, he wanted something different. And Don has this theory. He was never going to give me a Friday night, because Friday, Saturdays was where they made their money. But he was like, you do this party on Wednesday night and just build it.
I'd been working there for a little while, and Don said, we got a new promoter coming in, Steve Blush. He's going to be doing Wednesdays for a while. And right away, he created a scene. It became where people went on a Wednesday night regardless of the bands. And he had a great ability to stack different bands and create like an event where it wasn't just this band and their crowd leaves, another band, the crowd leaves. It was like people came and they stayed, and they drank a lot, they partied a lot, they had a lot of fun.
We just kind of oriented it toward metal, because that's kind of what I was doing, just to kind of piss off people too, because it was like so uncool at the time. And I had this idea, I called it Rock Candy, based on the Motley Crue was called Rock Candy, and Montrose had the song Rock Candy. So I put umlauts over every vowel that was available, and I just made this crazy ass rock party. And like when Williamsburg and the Yeah Yeah Yeahs were really happening, I had these stickers with pictures of Ronnie James Dio that were like everywhere around the Lower East Side. And so I was booking all these kind of cool underground bands, kind of stoner rock. In parlance, it was a sausage factory. It was just like a bunch of dudes hanging out, and that's not a scene. I just knew these really hot chicks who were pretty powerful and did cool things and were cool and were way cooler than the dudes they were hanging out with.
Rock and roll can be a bit of a boys' club. So Steve and Don took note of the female talent that was around and really wanted to give us a home base and a place to play.
When I first started going to Don Hill's, it felt like a clubhouse that I really wanted to be a part of, to be honest. I was up and coming and really trying to figure my stuff out musically, and also who I was as an artist. And Don was always really great about giving musicians a space to figure things out.
So Steve asked me to help him organize a tribute to Ronnie James Dio, and we went all the way back to Elf, Rainbow, Black Sabbath, of course, and the Dio band. People love seeing all those girls, chicks, rockers, whatever, get up there and sing heavy metal, sing some hard rock and heavy metal. It hadn't been done. I said, why don't we do a show just girl singers singing rock?
I called it Bitch, a ladies' tribute to metal.
At first I thought it was a little harsh, bitch. But then I realized that, this is New York City and this is downtown rock and this is pretty intense environment. So bitch it was.
I am not a huge fan of the word bitch because it has so many connotations to it. But I will say there is a part of me as well that, refers back to that cartoon. Like, you're calling me bitch like it's a bad thing.
The fact that it was called bitch, like no one really felt any kind of way about it being called bitch, like in a negative vibe. The term bitch was actually really empowering.
They embraced it. They were rock bitches.
We have an extravagant amount of pussy for you tonight. Very talented vagina, very mean bitch.
Bitch is somebody who is intense, aggravated, empowered, trying to get things done, and is not nicey nice.
Gather around a little closer. There's a lot of people who worked really fucking hard to put together a kick-ass show for you tonight. Bitch, a ladies' tribute to metal.
You know, we were up there to kick ass, take names, and you would never forget about it.
The thesis or the idea was, you know, these great female singers who wanted to sing heavy metal, rock and roll.
Who isn't interested in fucking hardcore rock and roll women, you know? We sing one song, one metal song, which I love metal. And I was like, well, why do I need to do one cover tune and a metal? Like, what? I'm over that. Like, I'm too old for this shit. It's actually a cool hang.
Talented, beautiful, hot rock chicks. And who doesn't like a really good band? Who doesn't like rock and roll, heavy metal? In the city, the combination might be killer, and it was. Great rock show. It's immediate. The adrenaline's flowing. It brings you right into the moment, and it's really exciting.
I was really on the hunt to find a tribe. And it was just important to me to be able to find like-minded girls.
I started to keep my eyes open for female singers that were really, really good.
It wasn't like we had a casting couch, but we did have the bar at Don Hills. I'd meet girls in bands. If they seemed like they had what it took, I invited them there.
You either got to be a great singer, or another option is they're hugely popular. Even though they're not the greatest singer, they might bring a bunch of people. Or they're just super hot and everyone's gonna like it. And you know, sometimes you get all three, and that's bingo, that's what you're looking for.
week you just get up there and you want to rock it and you want to do it justice, you want to do it honor. You're creating the energy and then you're getting it back from the audience and you're understanding something intimate about the artist who wrote it that you never would have discovered.
Song's really fast and going crazy, I'll just be, that eye in the storm. Like, while everything is nutty around me, I'll just stand there and I'll just demand the attention without having to, like, demand it.
What is it? It's a show. Yeah, like the girls get up and sing a song. But it's not karaoke, because you rehearse it. But you're singing other people's songs with a cover band.
I would call it a heavy metal cabaret.
It was never like this, like, oh, it's like a karaoke night and you just get up and it's like random. It's not random. It wasn't random.
There was one rehearsal for every show.
Day of show.
Always tried to do it a day or two beforehand, but it was inevitably the day of the show.
Long rehearsal. A long, 6 hours maybe, 4 hours.
Almost always running late. It was on rock and roll time, not like real time.
They were incredibly generous with keeping us hydrated.
Because we don't get to get paid for this, but they let us drink. That's what we got. That was our payment. It was like, thank you, Dawn,
The band was so good that they could hold it together, but inevitably, you rise or fell.
So it became very important for the band to be very quick at learning stuff and for us to cue each other really well. We did it by the skin of our teeth. We had to be on our toes.
Guys, you gotta watch. I was trying to cue you there. You weren't paying attention. It goes to a D there. Do it from the halftime thing again. Let's get you ready. Don't even worry about backgrounds. Let's get the song down. 1, 2, 3.
Because it was Don Hills, it was a downtown crowd, which means your typical mix of musicians and other kinds of artists.
They're a great crowd because they love the girls and love the songs, and they give so much energy that you can just feed off of when you're on stage.
Those people love those songs that you're about to sing. If you mess it up, you dishonor it. So you've got to do it right. You've got to do it better than right. You've got to make it your own, make it fabulous.
You're doing this one song and you get this huge reception for it, and it's a big adrenaline rush. I mean, it's like hardcore adrenaline rush. You feel really hot for about 5 minutes.
Who think that bitch is just all about mindless rock and metal. I have news for you. There's some serious messages that are being relayed up here tonight, and if you're not getting them, maybe you need to talk to me.
It wasn't a lesbian thing, and it wasn't like a Sunset Strip harlot thing. These women were in control. I mean, this was real feminism, if you ask me.
Women expressing power and really deep feeling, and whether it's sexual or emotional or political. I think the world is ready for that now. I know they are.
So that when you're giving off your sexuality, it's more, look at me, I'm up here and I own this. I own this. And I decide who is going to experience that part of me, and I decide how much is going to be given.
I've had to come to terms with the fact that there's nothing I can do about being sexy if people think I'm sexy. And, I just have to own it as a woman and as an artist. And I'm not saying use it, but it's just a part of who I am.
My coworkers at the bank, this is part of the reason I quit that job. I had to get out of there. so conservative and unwilling to see women in a power, fun role. You know, who are you? Who do you think you are? Or, you know, this or that, or that's stupid, or, you know.
After being told for years that women of color don't do rock and roll and that that's not a place for me or a place for women of color to be, or not even a thing to like. And then coming to Don Hills and finding like, not just one or two, but like there was a bunch of women of color, Asian, Black, Hispanic, that were doing hard music, rock and roll music, metal, and no one thought twice about it. It was just, it was really, there was such a vibe of acceptance. Thinking to myself, I came to the right place. So I think me and a lot of females consider Don Hills to be home.
It did become a home, but I always thought of it as like the church, the mother church of rock in New York.
You know, kind of the rock and roll dream. You've got these amazing musicians behind you, backing you up, and an audience that loves what you're singing even before you open your mouth.
The material that we came up with, I think Bruce had an idea, and he probably worked it out with Steve, the kinds of songs that they wanted to play. Some of them were a bit ironic for women to be singing, but to us there was nothing ironic about it. It was like, of course you're gonna sing You Got Another Thing Coming, or Everybody Wants Some.
Dirty atmosphere. I mean, we're singing everything that's for guys. Enough, the boys have enough fun. It's time for the girls to have some fun. That's what I say.
You know, there's always been this unspoken assumption that if you're a rock chick or a metal chick at a club, that you're probably just a groupie. And Bitch Night was the night when every single girl who either fronted their own band or were an artist in their own right got up there and destroyed it. And we just turned that misogyny on its fucking head.
It was like the estrogen was on fire.
Crazy drummer who only wanted my feet. It really kind of got a little frustrating, and he talked me into bitch. And I was like, I thought whatever, you know what I mean? Maybe he'll fuck me. Actually, want one of my feet if I do bitch. So I did bitch, and it was really true from the soul. You would live for that bitch show because it was so fucking rocking, you know. But then after that, the crash came, and you're in fetal position, and you're a mess.
Bruce Edwards is like a tremendous guitar player. He was the musical showcase, if you ask me. I mean, he was front and center.
Whole life I took one lesson. This guy showed me a pentatonic scale. And then it was sort of up to me to sort of use my ear. And so I taught myself how to play guitar. And previous, I played classical piano. My dad was a classical musician. And so I always heard music in the house. But I always really liked the intensity of rock music.
In terms of like the heart and soul of the organization, that's, yeah, certainly Bruce. Most importantly, he loved to hang with the girls. But he was like actually had real friendships with them.
He actually painstakingly had to call everybody, and if they didn't pick up or he didn't get them, he would call back. It was dedication.
It was back in the day, believe me, and it was talking on the phone. It wasn't texting, you know, and it wasn't emailing. It was a lot of just talking, and people say, okay, I want to do the show, but let me pick a song and get back to you. And then they're busy too, and they don't get back to you, and you need to, at some point, you have to know what songs you're doing because the band has to learn them.
Bruce put everything together with a lot of thought and with a lot of like genuine feeling about the music.
You want the best result is you want their 3-4 minutes on stage just to be really good. And you have to find a song or whatever that's suitable for them. Sometimes they'll pick a song which is really out of their range or something they really shouldn't be singing. And you want them to be happy and comfortable with what they're doing. At the same time, you have to steer sometimes in the right direction for what's appropriate for the show. And you get some people that really shouldn't be up there at all, other people who are almost overqualified on the context of it. So there is kind of a fine balance. And there's no rules and no regulations, so you're kind of just going along and adapting. And I really don't know how it comes together, but it always does, but only at the very last minute. You don't even quite know if you have a show until the show is just about to start. But there's a bunch of characters involved, no doubt.
It did have a host. That was the key part. It was always like one of these women.
We bitches, we do usually have first and last names like myself, but you'll notice a lot of them go by one name, and it's not because they're trying to be like Cher, it's to protect themselves from freaky stalkers like you.
You know, somebody who was like a downtown star was the host of this thing.
From Queen V to Michael T, Jane County, Kimbra from Voluptuous Horror of Karen Black.
You know, they'd have a theme. We tried to make it interesting so that it would have an audience that would come back and see the show every month.
Sometimes you'd have people do performance art in there.
I gravitated to metal, I guess, out of frustration, I guess, just like everybody else, right?
Especially in high school, the hard years made it okay to be, you know, a messed up teenager, you know, and not feeling good about yourself or whatever. It made it okay to be. And I just remember going to see, you know, hardcore shows and being in the pit, Sick of It All, Killing Time, Murphy's Law, all these, you know, great bands or whatever, and just feeling so, like, inspired to be who I am and not give a shit what people thought.
I think the thing about rock music that got me the most from an early age and still gets me now is how it makes me feel, which is completely empowered. And whether it's a happy slant on that feeling or like a sad slant, it's a way to express all those emotions in a really powerful way.
I started off playing classical piano, so I'm a classically trained pianist, and essentially heavy metal is just classical turned up real loud.
I started playing the violin when I was 4 years old, and I was pretty much a classical musician until I was 20. When I was 19, I did the Guns N' Roses video, November Rain, which was just so much fun. Unfortunately, shortly thereafter, I hurt myself and had permanent nerve damage in my hand. And Bitch was one of the things I started doing to get back into music, and it was just singing. What possessed me to like have the balls to take out the viola again? I want to be
practice it now. Fucking A.
I love the intricacy of the music. I love the attitude, I love the aggression, I love the style, I love the swag, I love everything about it, the aesthetic of it, the devotion to it. I'm not a religious person, so heavy metal is church to me.
Power of live music. You know, it's communion. It's a fucking religious experience, man. Rock and roll is, music is God. Rock and roll is the church. And, you know, this is our house of worship.
Because Don Hills catered to musicians, was kind of like a home for a lot of musicians. You know, the community of musicians was there.
So the Bitch Band was a little bit of a revolving lineup around Bruce, I would like to say. There were always great musicians.
And we had some badass cats on that stage. Band was kind of like a free-form, mutable ensemble.
And everyone brings their own thing to the stage. It's really interesting to see, you know, what this person brings, what this person.
Then there was girls that had like real jobs and like powerful jobs, and then at night they morphed into these nighttime people.
When I was doing a lot of the bitch shows, I was on Wall Street doing private banking. I'm supposed to be a responsible adult. Can't be biting bats and pretending you got blood coming out of your mouth. Part of the reason I loved doing the bitch shows was that it gave you that opportunity just to totally take the suit off and let loose and have a good time.
I do a number of things, but I just got a job as a segment story producer on a TV show.
To make money musically, you don't, not in New York City, but I have a pet service I've had for like 8 years, and it's making your own hours, and you can go to bed late and party. Even working at record companies, gotta be there at 9, I have 2 hours sleep, but I did it. But I didn't have time. Now I have time is valuable.
You know, a large part of our lives end up being spent in doing jobs that we don't want to do in order to support the pursuit of our artistic dreams. It sucks. That's the way it is. We live in capitalist society. And you gotta do what you gotta do. You just have to hope that you catch your dream before you get sucked into the job you're doing.
I did a lot because I never really knew what I wanted to do. I mean, I made I started out as a comedian and I did real life stories. I was a flight attendant and an EMT, a mail lady, and you know, I was like, I did it for uniforms kind of thing. You know?
I forgot about that.
I was everything and you name it, and luckily I got good material out of it, but I was never really content. But I think it's all about like doing your passion, you know.
You know, some of them were just discovering it then. Some of it always had it in them and were too scared to do it.
The stage is scary for me at this point. I have stage fright and I get really self-conscious. So I think the best thing about it is conquering that, like channeling all that adrenaline and fear and using it to, you know, perform. Ultimately, I'd like to be a professional musician, you know, and so that's the real, you know, what can I do that's gonna allow me to pursue that goal? Of course, you have to pay attention to the market, but I'm not gonna, I've had to come to a decision where I'm just not gonna let it affect my art, as my product. And I think that what comes out of that is going to be something that in the end will be marketable because of that.
Why aren't you famous? Why aren't you on MTV? Well, it's not that easy to get on MTV, yeah. And even to this day, and still not making it and being dedicated to my art.
A lot of people have these stars in their eyes. They expect that, you know, they got talent, they're going to get discovered, and the rest of their lives are going to be happy. And it doesn't work that way. It's a really tough business. It's really hard. It's a lot of work, and it doesn't matter how talented you are. It's all about the work that you put into it. It has to do with your work ethic and the people you relate to and how you can communicate with other people. There's so much more involved than the average artist thinks about.
All these women from like all different walks of life, all trying to like bear their all on stage.
Really powerful, strong, solar type energy coming off a female doesn't make guys want to drag you in the bathroom and give you head. It's intimidating.
But everybody in the mala pom-pom room is like mesmerized. It's full of all its problems, all its bullshit, but we do it for the love. We do it for the love. It is a gift that you can give, and you know, that's so empowering and so amazing.
I don't know if they were necessarily trying to outdo each other, because there was a very friendly sort of camaraderie amongst all the girls.
People love the idea of bitch and being catty and, you know, girl fights and mud wrestling. None of that happens. If someone's a little scared, usually someone will give either advice or a smile.
Everybody was so supportive, but so different, but still pushing each other to be the best they could be. I mean, if you saw somebody on stage like tearing it up and you were, you know, aspiring singer, you wanted to do your best also. You didn't want to look like a fool following that girl. You know what I mean?
The night succeeds when everyone rocks. So if someone fails, then the audience is unhappy and then maybe they don't want to come back next week. It doesn't serve you when you want to sing again. But if the night is strong and everybody's singing to their best, then it's only going to be a stronger night to sing at. I think that's the attitude most people take.
You got girls that are really good. You know, it's like, you can learn from them, you know? I mean, it's just so inspirational. Where would I be without the other ladies going for it too?
Part of what made Bitch so great was that the girls were all trying to outdo each other. This wasn't just like some fun, cute little gathering. We were really competitive. Well, some of us were more competitive than others. I was one of the more competitive ones. Like, I really was trying to like make a statement. Get that, you know, 3 or 4 minutes of whatever song to show who you are.
For us, it was dead serious. Once music kicked in, there was no stopping us.
after a while, you sort of know maybe the different areas, the different songs, the different styles that are sort of the strengths of some of the artists.
On that first, when the guitars kick in.
Bum.
Yeah, what happened? Just extend the, rock out part, and I'm gonna say da 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 da. Just keep going.
Keep going?
And I'm gonna say "Bugging a bitch," and I'll cue you to.
You got it.
All right.
Because it's not ready, so, you guys got enough shit to learn, and I don't want to half-ass it. If I'm going to be up here, it's got to be 100%.
Okay.
So it's all good. I'll do next, bitch.
Okay, next up is cult of personality.
I mean, the chorus can be different lengths, I guess. I'm just gonna choose 6 both times during the song, and then end with the longer one, like 8.
Because they were such musicians, they were able to like indulge these girls.
I think once Bruce and I got to know each other a little bit and he saw where I was at musically and the kind of stuff I wanted to dig into, we started to figure out the kind of songs that would be great for the show. Because it was a balance. You had people doing Aerosmith, you had people doing Dokken, and then you had, people doing Zeppelins.
Also introduced a lot of new music to me that I never would have heard of.
Bruce, have him do Judas Priest or something, and he'd come up with like some, second album kind of stuff, Never Satisfied. It was amazing.
Got to hear music that I had never really been exposed to. If you heard a song at Bitch and you're like, wow, that's a really cool song, then, I would go and research the original version, and, so it was also a history lesson in this bizarre kind of way.
Baby. How about a real singer? Fuck you, Pop-Tarts.
Some girls that were coming in bringing like a real metal vibe, and then you have some other girls that would come in doing a real 80s vibe.
I feel like I'm doing, I'm giving props to Billy Squier, or to Pat Benatar, and putting their music back out there for people to appreciate all over again. And that really is the theme of like why I do everything I do as far as my 80s tribute shows. I found a niche and I'm sticking with it because that's my favorite and everyone seems to like it.
surprises me the most about the night is just how beautiful some of these women come in here. Some people just leave you gasping for breath. They're so amazing. Their voices are so gorgeous.
Girls were talented. These were people who all had been in bands, or they were actresses, or they were in Broadway.
Some girls would sing and play, some girls would sing and play and strip. I mean, it was always like this wild, unpredictable flow of entertainment.
There's so many girls who have great bodies and they're gorgeous and they have a lot more to offer in the overtly sexual department. I'm not going to compete in that arena because I don't need to, I don't really want to. It just leaves the field free for me in the other areas to be heard for my voice and, you know, move around, have a good time and not really be so self-conscious about my body and stuff like that. That's why I don't like to do that. But some girls, that's what they like to do, and more power to them because there is an empowerment, obviously, in being able to, you know, show your body, do whatever you want in that way also. I can see both sides of that. Absolutely.
One of the nicest surprises when I first started doing Bitch was that women weren't trying to be men. They were supremely feminine in every single possible way, whether they were being, you know, super lipsticked out or dykey or whatever. They were unapologetic, very, very womanly, feeling really, really hot and sexy and not trying to be anyone but themselves.
Do it for the love. If you're going to do it for any other reason, it's really not going to be real. You know, you have to believe that. And do it for the love.
And be
usually
independent.
something happens from that.
People come up to me and go, you physically changed me. Like, you made me have goosebumps. And I'm like, well, my job is done. I don't get paid for it, but I get paid and feel karma.
We were doing an impossible thing. We're starting at like 11 o'clock with a 10 to 20 song show on a Wednesday night that would go to like 1:30, and you'd burn everybody out, of course. You know, considering the budget we were on and what we did, that was DIY.
Anyone that has hosted a monthly party, especially in New York City, will know that it's a bitch to have a monthly party. So literally, a bitch was a bitch to put up every month. I mean, not only are you like doing this like high octane, like super adrenaline charged show, but there's a lot of sex, drugs, rock and roll also going on there too, which really escalated like the intensity of the night.
New York is very exciting and things happen very fast. You could start a party within a couple of weeks. It's the place to go, the place to work, and nothing lasts forever.
In 2005, certainly, I'd said to Don, I'm done. And he asked me to keep going. You know, I had my American hardcore film come out. It was on Sony Picture Classics. I had just come from Sundance. I'm going back to Dod Hills and I'm dealing with this sudden bullshit and the club's dying, and so I just walked away. I was just looking at a bigger thing, and Don's lasted another couple years after that, and then it turned into a different form, and then he passed away.
After Don passed suddenly, I mean, the end of an era.
Don's passing, to me, is like, I'm still not over it.
He was a friend. He was a, this is gonna take a second.
Some people polarized people. Everyone loved Don Hill.
He was very kind and very generous and very honest about how he felt and what he thought. And in a place like New York City, when you're just figuring things out, boy, that's rare. That's really rare. And he's very, very missed and will never be forgotten. Being in New York in the mid-late 90s, early 2000s, there was something happening here in music that not only drew me to it, but inspired me. And I think a lot of other people. Everybody was just so still moved by this, and including like all the newer wave of musicians coming up, and that's what I was a part of.
Bitch actually ended up being kind of like the gateway drug to like a lot of females' intro into the New York rock scene.
They looked at it as a launch pad for what they were doing.
15 pictures from the bitch and printed out, and I used it for promos, and I still do.
Yeah, I use them on my web, it's true.
So,
that's
yeah,
a good
you
plus.
do-
I don't want to say it.
You get free promo pictures, and they're beautiful. Thank you, Robert.
For many, many people, it was a sort of a rite of passage.
You could really get the word out about who you were and what you did there.
I know for me, it's been invaluable experience. It's like I'm getting my chops at Fitch,
It was like you were auditioning for like other bands in the city, and you were auditioning for like, other projects, or people could see you and know who you were.
A lot of the singers went on to all kinds of other stuff.
Heavily involved, like a key member of the Afropunk movement when it first started in New York. So kind of like become this like poster girl for like women of color in metal.
I got to, put out my albums with my label, got to tour a lot, do lots of great things. I worked really hard, and I got also very lucky, but I think it just comes with doing it. You just have to keep doing it, if it's what you love.
I mean, we did over 50 shows. There must have been well over 100 different female singers who participated in the big show.
It was just about expressing the love of great women talent and our love of rock and roll. I see rock and roll as like the great 20th century art form, the downtown rock scene as the vanguard of it. Certainly Bitch is part of that.
There is still a rock scene. There will always be a rock scene or a music scene that's the rock of its time, but it changes. You know, things run their course. They move around town, they move to different places. The music changed, the people change, but it's always there. Put down your phone, go to a show, take the music back. It's still there, you just gotta look.